Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Starfield shipbuilding guide. I'm your host, Colors Fade. In my previous videos, I had released the Daybreak, a design that we got off Reddit that I turned into a B-class fighter, and later on we upgraded it to a much larger version of the ship that I dubbed the Crescent, which was a C-class ship. Well, now I'm here with the biggest version of this ship yet, and I am calling it the Crab. Longtime viewers of this channel know that I'm a huge Battletech fan, and there is a very strong similarity between this ship and a crab mech from Battletech, which you can definitely see the influence in when you start walking towards this ship. So what I want to show you first is the interior. We're going to walk through the design and see why I put the halves together the way I did, and then I'm going to show you how to build this ship. So the primary reason that I wanted to build this ship is because of this bridge, which is actually a Nova Galactic bridge. And you can see from the interior that the reason I wanted to build it is because it's the only bridge in the game that I know of that has stairs, which can allow you to build a 2-deck ship without any ladders. Now, if you don't place your halves just right, you'll still end up with ladders, but it's very careful. It took me a long time to get this exact design this way. We're going to start the walkthrough from where you enter when you board the ship from the ground. Upon entry into the ship, you'll come into this central lower level habitat that is called a control station habitat. I like it a lot better than the other engineering habitats, primarily because it just looks like an appropriate place to enter the ship. I also want to note that all of the habitats in this ship, except for one, are Deimos habitats. I really like the dark floors and just the way that the whole Deimos design is done. So as you enter into the ship on the lower level, if you go straight and go forward, you will find the bridge with the stairs. And what I've tried to do with this design is logically place everything in such a way that it makes sense. So we'll visit the top portion of this ship first. Immediately behind the bridge is a 2x2 Deimos battle station habitat, which I really like. Again, I love the dark floors, and I just love the futuristic look of this particular set of habitat. Towards the back of the 2x2 battle stations is a small companionway that gives us access to our topside dock. On the port side of the 2x2 battle stations, the first compartment we come to is the Deimos Armory. Adjacent to the armory, we have the only habitat in the whole entire ship that is not Deimos. This is the Stroud-Eklund Workshop because it comes with a research console. On the starboard side of the 2x2 battle station, we have the Deimos Infirmary. And again, much like the armory, I added this because on the top level, it just seems to make a lot of sense. If you were going to have injured crew during a battle, you'd want the infirmary to be very close to their stations. So that's the top of the ship. Battle stations, infirmary, armory, and the workshop. Now, let's take a look at the lower levels. Again, as you come down the stairs from the bridge, you first come to the control station, which at the far side you can see is the docking bay below that gets you out when you're at ground level. So the top side of the ship is for battle and combat, and the bottom side of the ship is for living in crew. On the port side of the ship, we enter into a giant 2x3 Deimos cafeteria. This, as it turns out, is the only part of the whole entire ship design I don't like, is that you basically have to walk through this small officers' eating area in order to get to the rest of the cafeteria. For some reason, the game won't put the doorway further back along this far wall near that cargo container. But the one thing I wanted to do was make sure that this cafeteria was on the port side of the ship because the kitchen is actually on the far port side of the room. And the one thing you wouldn't want to do if you place this on the starboard side of the ship would be having your crew members walk through the actual kitchen to get to the cafeteria. So it makes a lot of sense for this to be on the port side of the ship. Since it's a 3x2 hab or a 2x3 hab, there is a little bit of room over here for a storage area, which is what I put because it would make a lot of sense to have a storage area off of a kitchen. In addition to that, just off the cafeteria is an all-in-one hab that offers sleeping arrangements for the crew. I assume that these sleeping arrangements would be for the people who were working your cafeteria. And in addition to that, they have their own small storeroom off to the side. Now, these storerooms you can actually replace if you want to with additional fuel tanks. This particular living area, this all-in-one hab, has a window that overlooks out onto the bridge of the ship and across the way you can see the window for the other wing of the ship. Upon exiting the cafeteria and re-entering back into the control station midsection, we cross into the other half of the ship, which is again more living quarters. Here we have another all-in-one hab to provide plenty of beds for our crew to sleep in. On the next habitat over, we have a 2x2 Deimos living area. I mentioned in my previous video that I really like the living area because it gives the ship that Firefly feel to it, and you would want your crew to have somewhere that they could hang out and do things like lift weights and play games and read books. As we move into the forward part of the starboard side wing, we also have another all-in-one right here so they can have even more places to sleep. And adjacent to that room on this starboard wing is the captain's quarters. The captain's quarters has the benefit of having this window that looks out onto the bridge and onto the far wing on the port side of the ship. So to reiterate, the goal here was to make the bottom half of the ship where the crew would live and the top half of the ship where the crew would work. Now, let me show you how to build this bad boy. Now, the first thing I want to mention about building this ship is that this ship does come up against the build limit. There actually is a build limit for the number of parts you can use to build a ship. I tried to build a slightly larger version of this ship and I ran smack dab into the build limit. So I don't know exactly how many pieces away I am from hitting that build limit again, but I'm very close. So if you want to take this ship and modify it, just know that you don't have a lot of room for error here. All right, now I'm going to show you how to put this thing together. And just like some of the previous ship builds that I've showed on this channel, you do have to run around the universe a little bit to get all the unique parts that you need to build it. What I'm going to try to show you here is what I believe is the cheapest way to build the ship without having to duplicate a lot of parts and buy things over and over, because you do have to put together a functional ship that the shipbuilder will not complain having any errors, and that will allow you to move on to the next shipyard where you can add more parts. So the first place we're going to go in the Sol system is to the Deimos shipyard, because there are pieces here at Deimos that we need to get, and we want to get those before we do the rest of it. So the pieces that you need to buy from the Deimos shipyard are these 5 pieces so that you can have a shopping list. We're going to want to buy the reactor there. We're going to want to buy the grav drive there. We're going to want to buy the Deimos 3x2 cafeteria there, the Deimos 2x2 battle stations, and a Deimos 2x2 living quarters. But first, we need a ship that we can cannibalize. So we're going to choose the Razor Leaf, as always, because it's so much fun to do this one. We're going to double click and delete everything. Now we're going to grab some parts. What we have to do here is buy the minimum number of parts so that the game won't complain when we get ready to accept all the changes. So we're going to start with the 3 pieces of habitat that we need to have. We're going to grab the battle stations, and then right on the side of that, we're going to get the Deimos 2x2 living quarters. And on top of that, we're going to build the Deimos 2x3 mess hall. And then just to make it even, we're going to go up here and get a Deimos all-in-one berth. All right, this is going to be a very ugly ship, but we don't care about that. On the back side of the ship, we want to go get our reactor. And the reason we came to Deimos is mostly for the habitats, but also because we can get the Fusor DC-401 reactor. Note here it says piloting rank 4, and this is something I want to stress here because people are going to ask. You need a piloting rank 4 and a shipbuilding rank 2 in order to build this ship. You don't need a shipbuilding rank 3 or 4. You can probably put better components on the ship with shipbuilding rank 3 or 4. However, as I said before, I did run up against the build limit when putting this thing together initially. I had originally built a longer version of this ship that had a bit more storage capacity and stuff in the back end, but I ran up against the hard count for trying to put all the decorative stuff on there because a ship can only have so many total pieces. So that's something to keep in mind as you build this. This Fusor DC-401 reactor is a key component that we need. The next thing we're going to do is get the grav drive. And what we want to use is the Aurora 13G grav drive. There may be higher level grav drives if you have Starship Design 3 or 4. You can see that you need Starship Design Rank 2 for this one. But for now, we're going to use this, and this works. So we're going to put this over here, and then we're going to go back and get that engine because apparently I forgot to connect it. So, oh, no, the reactor, I mean. Let's go get that reactor. So there's our reactor, and we're also going to just down here put a fuel line in it because that is one of the things that if you don't have, the game will complain about. And you just grab the 500T HE3 tank because we will have several of these on the finished ship when we're done. Now what we're going to do is put some landing gear on the ship, and we're going to put a docker on it and a cargo not a cargo container, but a bay. So let's take the bay first. We're going to use this landing bay, the 120 LD Deimos landing bay, which we have used in all the other builds. We're just going to take it and slide it over. And then we're going to go put some landing gear on. This landing gear is the Deimos landing gear. It's very cool. We're not actually going to use it on this build, but you have to have enough pieces of landing gear on here for the builder to not complain. We got to go back to gear because it moved us over. So there we go. There is that. We're going to actually slide this piece back. There we go. And now we need to get a cockpit on it. This is the big part we're going to replace when we go get the huge Nova Galactic 2-floor cockpit, which is really awesome. So just grab the cheapest thing here, or in this case, use the DS20.2 Phobos cockpit if you are taking and remake the Razorleaf. That's why it is a value of 1163, because we're getting money back since we're not buying anything else. All right, now we have 2 errors left. One of those I know is because we need a docker. So just take a docker on the top. And then what is our last error? Minimum engine count. That's right. We don't have any engines on it. So we just want a couple of cheap engines. Grab the cheapest thing you can. And actually with one engine, that's enough. We don't get any more warnings. So we came here to get 5 components, to get 3 habitats, which we have, to get our grav drive and our reactor. That's all we need. And the ship is not being complained of when we go here. It has a bunch of messages for things we're missing, but remember, we're not actually going to fly this thing. So let's accept it and move on to the next place that we want to go to, is Titan in the same system. So once you're done with the Deimos shipyard on Mars, go over here to Titan, and you're going to want to come down to a place called New Homestead. Once you're in New Homestead, the ship technician is over here on the left, and we're going to take our awful looking Razorleaf and modify only one thing on it. We're going to get rid of this cockpit, and then we're going to go grab the really, really cool cockpit from Nova Galactic. Now there are 3 versions of this, and you want to click on the bottom actually. There are 3 versions, the Cabot C3, C3X, and C4. There may be higher level versions. As you can see, the Cabot C4 only requires Starship Design Rank 2, and that's all I have. That's probably why it's not showing me any more elaborate versions of it. But the thing to keep in mind is the only thing that really differentiates versions are the cargo and the mass. So if you want to take some of the mass off of the size for your ship to possibly make it slightly more maneuverable, you can go with the smaller bridge. They have the same hull number on it and the same number of cruise stations, and they add a marginal amount of cargo. So I'm just going to grab the Cabot C3 bridge, and then we'll work from there. That leaves us costing 6,363 credits. And again, we have no errors, just warnings. We're going to escape and save it. Now we're going to travel to Aquila City. We're going to go up to the Cheyenne system and travel to Aquila City because there are engines that we need here, but also because Aquila happens to be home to where my own outpost with landing pad is. So the things we want to buy in Aquila City are the engines. Let's take and edit our Razorleaf. We put one tiny little chintzy engine on it. We're going to want to get rid of it. Now what you want to go to is engines, and you want to go down here and grab SAL 6830 engine. We want 2 of these. You'll notice that it has a maneuvering thrust of 8,800, which is great. It's what's going to allow this big boat to move around. Now here, we're going to go back to structural. We need something to hang on 2 more engines. Grab the Stroud Cap B and just put it on the sides. We're not going to put 4 of these huge engines on. We're just going to put 2 and then 2 of these other engines. These right here, you want to grab the SAE 5220 engines. They have 4,500 maneuvering thrust each, and they're also going to fit in this ship. So now we don't have any more errors, just 4 warnings, and this is what this beast looks like right now. We're going to rearrange the whole thing. You can see this with the engines cost us a pretty penny. This is 127,725 credits. These engines are smoking. They're 55,000 a piece. They're expensive, and the other ones are 9,000 a piece. These big bad boys are a huge chunk of money on the ship, but they're totally worth it. So let's accept this, and we're going to go to our outpost with our landing pad with shipbuilder and finish the ship there. Now that we're done with Aquila City, we can go to the very last place and finish this whole ship. My shipyard, my landing pad with shipyard happens to be on the other side of the planet of Aquila, so we're going to go there. So once you're here, go to view modify ships, and we are going to finish off the Razorleaf. Or as this case, I like to call it the Crab. Okay, this thing is an absolute mess. So the first thing to do is remove the components that we don't need. Take those outside components, get rid of those. Take your engines and your reactors and your grav drive and move it all way back, because we are not going to touch this stuff for a long time. That fuel tank can stay, but we're just going to delete it for now because we'll add it back in later. You also won't need this landing gear. We're not going to be using this particular set of landing gear. And we're going to get rid of this docker, this docking bay, the landing bay, but we're going to add it back in later. All right, now the nice thing about these Deimos habitats is that once you have grabbed them and brought them here, you can delete them and re-add them. You don't have to be worried about deleting them. You can get them back. So what we're going to do is here, we're going to delete all of those habitats, those 2x2s and the 3x2s, and we're going to start from scratch. We're going to start with the bottom level. Let's do that. In the very bottom center, we're going to go to habitats. These are all going to be all Deimos except for one of them. And right here, we're going to put a control station in the center. And then right next to that control station is where we're going to add the mess hall. So we go back here and you can see the Deimos 2x3. And since it's a 2x3 component, you technically could use the cargo hall instead. It's not going to let you keep buying these components is the important part though. It's only going to let you select one because that's all you deleted was one 2x3. We're going to put the mess hall right there. Now on the other side of this thing, we're going to add our first all-in-one berth and slide it up here. And then on the other side of that, we're going to grab the Deimos 2x2 living quarters right there and slide these up like that. There we go. Now we're going to flip this thing back around like this. And we're going to start adding the arms on. This is the galley, the mess hall. We're going to add an all-in-one right there in the middle of it. On this back side right here, we're going to add a storeroom. And on the back side right here, we're going to add a second storeroom like that. Now, these two storerooms, keep these in mind. These are just here to occupy hab space. If you decide that you need more fuel, and we're already going to put a lot of fuel tanks on this thing, but let's say you decided you needed more fuel, this is where I would tell you to put it, is to delete those and put more fuel there. And they're going to be well hidden by the rest of the structure, so you won't notice them. But for now, I'm going with this because that's the layout I showed you at the beginning of the video. Now here, on this side, next to this living quarters, what we're going to do right here is, again, another all-in-one berth, because all-in-ones are the ones that have the beds. And then right here is the captain's quarters. So that is the lower level, and that is all done. Now we're going to go for the upper level. We're going to start here with the middle slot. We're going to go Deimos 2x2, and we want the battle stations, and it lands nicely here on the right hand starboard side, which is where we want it. On the other side, on this starboard side, we want to add the Deimos infirmary. It's a 2x1 thing. So come up here, grab it, slide it. And then on this side, what we're going to do is add the armory first, the Deimos armory right there. And then our last piece is the only Stroud piece we're going to use. Come down to Stroud and we're going to grab the workshop because it has the research station on it. So that is all the habitats. And now we get to start doing the really fun stuff, the structural stuff that makes it look cool. So let's go down here. We're going to go to structures. And the first thing we're going to do that we're going to put on the front is the Nova weapon mounts. And then we're going to enclose these things with a lot of cool structural stuff. On this, on the top, you want to come down here and grab the Stroud cowling. You want to right arrow so that you get the one with the orange marker on it, and you want to rotate it so it's inside. And then over here, you're going to do the same thing. It's already going to be facing to the inside. And then you can do this Shift G while your mouse is over it, makes it way easier to be able to do these parts. So you're going to do Shift G over here when it doesn't do that, like this, and add this one over here. And add those all in there. Shift G over this one. And there's that. Now we're going to add the fronts. This is where we get into a little bit more of the Stroud, these Stroud parts right here, the Stroud caps, what I like to call the wings. Use your Z key to rotate them. And then we get to the underside. This is where it gets interesting. This thing needs a lot of landing gear because it's really big. So we're going to start with this first slot closest to the front on the outside. And we're going to go to gear. And we're going to choose this AccuLander 11 landing gear from Stroud Eklund. And we want the taper to the outside. Then we're going to come over in the same spot right here underneath this storeroom and do the same thing. Now what we're going to do is slide back one slot, leave room there, and we're going to put two more pieces of gear back here. 4 landing gear will not get it done on this thing because it will say you don't have enough landing gear. I tried to do it with 4 and I couldn't. So there's that. Now on the outside, we're going to use cosmetic part. Go back over to your structural, come back down here to the Stroud cowling, and just make sure the taper's on the outside. And then the same thing here in the first 2 slots on the inside. You're going to want to do that same exact part right there. And then we can finish putting the wings on. And that gets you something that's starting to look like the ship. Now let's go to the underside. we need to go grab our landing bay, this Demos one. Back to structural briefly, we want to grab the Demos belly 4 right there. This is part of what makes it look aesthetically pleasing. Next, what we want to do is add some cargo containers. What you want to do is put them here, right under the wings. We're going to do that, and you're going to taper them like that, like to fit the rest of these cosmetic parts here. There you go. That's where the landing gear goes. Now, the cargo bays go. Now behind them, we're going to stick some fuel. Grab the 500 HT3 tanks. On one side, you're going to want to put 2 fuel tanks, and on the other side, it's going to be where our grav drive will go. And if we can't get it to go, then just delete it. And remember that it's the Aurora 13. And then come down in here, click that, go to grav drives. If you can alphabetically do it like I'm not able to. You want to grab the Aurora 13G grav drive, and there it is. So that's the grav drive. Now on the very back center of the ship is where we're going to want to put a docker. And we want this to be separate. We don't want our docker to show up in the middle of the battle station. We don't want it to be on this slot here, because then it puts a stairway here. And this space right here between the armory and the battle station, this is actually where the doorway is. So then you end up with a doorway here and a ladder here kind of blocking the way. And there's a console here, and it makes it hard to maneuver around here. So what we're going to do on the very back of this is put a habitat. We're just going to grab a Demos companionway. Now we're going to take our reactor, and we're going to slide it right underneath that companionway. Now, in order to fit everything else on this ship, we're going to have to do a little work. We need some more cosmetic stuff. We want to go over to structural, and what we want to put here is simply the Demos hull A. Now, you can technically put more habitat here, but I didn't. The reason is because originally I had habitats in here, but all you can really do is put storerooms in here. Unfortunately, you can't take things like the 2x1 infirmary and turn them sideways. And extra storerooms here just didn't really add anything to the interior of the ship for me. So I use these instead. They're just cosmetic, and they're going to allow us to mount a bunch of cool components on here. We want to take these engines and stuff them back there, but they're not going to let us, so let's delete them first. So the engines are going to go in here. Let's go get our really big honking engines, the SAs. Oh, and we need to be on the bottom one right there. There you go. So there's that one. And then these are our SAE 5220s. So we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to delete those and come in here and jam them in here. There we go. And now on the bottom side of those engines, you can do one more really nice structural thing to start making this thing look a little better. You can grab this belly again. This makes everything look so much better. It hides those fuel tanks from the backside, and the whole thing looks really slick. Now we get to do all of the really fun stuff, except we're going to go do a docker first right here. Grab this docker. I like the Pro Docker right here, the Connect Pro Docker. And then you're going to want a shield of some kind. Grab whatever you want. This is C class. You can get some pretty good stuff in here. I can't wait to get higher. This shield is awesome. It has 1600 max health. You need Starship Design Rank 4 for it though, so we're just going to put this guy on there. And if you're here and you want to, you can go to structural and go ahead and put a portal top up there if you want to. And now we're going to do all the really fun cosmetic stuff. So we're going to start here on top of the wings, and we're going to go to structural, and we're going to put this Demos spine A. We love these. Remember, on the other wings, on the other ships that we've been building, we had one of these spines, but now the wings are twice as wide, which is just so much fun. And we're going to put one right here, and we're going to have so much cool wingage going on in the back. Now what I've done on these two ones that are interior here, these narrower ones, you go down here, let's see, where is it? This one, Demos spine D, it kind of slopes up, and then you can take it and make it slope downwards by reversing it, the Z key. And then on the very back, since we have all these dummy pieces here, grab some Demos tails. And this is kind of what I feel like really brings the design out. It just looks fantastic. Okay, on this one, you're going to have a lot of these pieces, a lot of the Demos spine Bs. So grab those. Now on the outermost wing, we get to do this really cool little thing here. We get to add that Demos tail, but then for the second and third layers, this gets really fun. I recommend doing it from the bottom of the tail. Go like that, come down here and grab the Demos F spine, and then underneath that, grab the Demos skeg and hit your Z key to turn it around, and you end up with that. And that just looks freaking cool to me. Oh my gosh. Okay, I love that part of the ship design here. The Demos, that, come down underneath, grab the spine F4 underneath that, the skeg A, switch it around, and you got that. And the same thing is basically going to happen here. Here you're going to add a tail, and then you can't add anything else because the engine is in the way, but still it looks pretty darn cool. What we need now are weapons. So on the interiors or the exteriors, it doesn't really matter how you put them on. There's plenty of room here to mount weapons. So what we're going to do is grab 4 weapons here. We want to come down and grab the PB300 Alpha Beam. Remember, I only have a shipbuilding skill of 2, and my character is only around level 32 right now. So there may be better weapons later, but these are a C-class weapon that does 41 damage to the hull and the shields. So you don't need to have a separate weapon to take down the hull after these things tear through the shields. And they have a max power of 3, which means you can shoot 4 of them at one time. We're going to do that and mount it on that inside of that one. And then right here, same thing. We're going to come over here, mount that, mount it there. And then what we're going to do, we need to grab way up at the top. Go ahead and grab these portal windows in the front because these are nice features. And then anywhere you want to, you can put the other weapon that I have on this ship. You don't have to have these if you don't want to, but I like to have a suppressor on my ship for capturing. So these 2 suppressors here, these have a max power of 3. So if you wanted more suppressors, you could mount a couple more like on the outside. You could mount one out here and one out here if you wanted to. I get by because I barely use these, so I only have the 2. And then we got to go into our weapons and we got to say, let's do the Alpha Beam first and the suppressor 2. Let's add something that I didn't add to my other ship. Let's go up here structurally and put a portal in her right there. The one other thing that we can add on this girl. Oh, nope, we were missing one other thing. That's why we were up against the build limit. There are wings. Let's go do those. So the Deimos Wing A, and I take this and I slide it up a little bit. And then you're going to want to build it again, except you're going to want to Z it. So let's see, let's build it here. It's, you have to hit the arrow key, not the Z key. So you could take this and move it back like that. I did it like this. And then I added this guy here. I like this kind of radiator looking one. So come over here on this side, the same kind of thing. Grab this Deimos Wing A. Then you're going to want to grab it and reverse it. Except you got to grab it from the you got to put it on the very last slot to reverse it like that. Take it, slide it back. Put the radiator one, the Deimos Wing C one on it there. And there you go. That's the last finishing touch on the whole damn thing. She's got enough landing gear. She's not complaining about anything. And look, she's got a mobility of 93 because we used the lighter sea bridge. I think my regular mobility on this is 90 or 92. She's got a top speed of 130. She's got a max crew of 7. So if you want to invest points in your crew skill, you can get the crew bigger. She's got a cargo of 2680, a hull of 932, and a shield of 730. And again, as you gain more levels and get more access to the shipbuilding skill, you'll get better parts. So at any point in time, you can come in here and swap out the shield, or you can swap out perhaps the reactor for something better, or even the grav drive. We have a lot of fuel on the ship. You can see we have 3 nodes here. And as I said, if you decide that you need more fuel, come in here to these 2 places down here into the storeroom, and we'll move this out of the way. Take these 2 storerooms, remove them, and put some more fuel in there if you need it. That's the ship. You can see now it cost us another 128,000 to put this together. So the total cost of this ship for what I did here in this build ended up being 317,695 credits. However, I have 2 or 3 levels in the commerce skill, which significantly reduces the total cost of this ship. To be safe, you probably want 400,000 credits in your bank account if you don't have any commerce skill at all. Only thing left to do is to paint this sucker. But because I want to see what this is going to do, I want to show you the actual ship. We're going to take a quick tour. We're going to paint this really quickly, and to differentiate it from my other ship that I've already built that looks like this, we're just going to paint it red. We're going to paint it like a dark red here. Oh, there we go. Now we have a ship. All right, let's accept it and go look at this thing. We're going to make it our home ship. It's dark, so you can't see it. But there she is. She's red. She's a crab. A Stroud Eklund crab. Let's go look, because the one thing I want to take a look at here is the portal window that I put on. So we're going to enter through the bottom of the ship. We come into the control station. Right up here. Cockpit. We have stairs. Yay, it's an awesome cockpit. Let's look at the top level first. Battle stations. Excellent. An infirmary. I love the dark Deimos floors. Anybody gets hurt in their battle station, we have the infirmary right next door. If we need to board another ship, there's our docker. And it's dark, but you can see out there, there's another landing pad that I have a little ways over there. So there we go. That's cool. I like having that portal there. Right beside the battle station. If we need to leave the ship and everybody's at their battle stations already working, we come over here and we grab our weapons from our infirmary. I mean, not from our infirmary. We come over here and we grab our weapons from our armory. And if we need to build better weapons and mods, we have the workshop right next door to it. The only Stroud Eklund thing on the ship that has this lighter floor. So that's how you know it's a Stroud Eklund piece. I love the dark floors though. So that's the upstairs of the ship. Let's go downstairs. Remember, there's no ladders on this thing. That's what makes it awesome. We're going to go down in here first. There's the officers eating. We're going to slide right on by the cafeteria for the rest of the crew. That's why I wish the door was right over here. But we can't manually place the doors. Here's the kitchen. There's a storeroom, which again, if you don't want that storeroom in there and you feel like you need more hyper fuel, more grab jump fuel, you can put grab jump fuel there. We got some chefs. We got top of the line 3 Michelin star chefs working here, folks. And that's why they have their very own living quarters over here. Their very own all-in-one, because they have their beds where they can sleep. So we have a lot of chefs and sous chefs. And to make it worthwhile, they've got their own window out here where they can see the cockpit and they can see over across the way and they can see all these awesome weapons of ours firing. And the last storeroom here. Again, fuel tank if you don't want that there. Cross over and look at the very last part of the ship. There's an all-in-one right here so that, again, our battle stations crew has a place to sleep. 4 beds. For those people. And now there's the living quarters. Yay, we got a place to sit here and chill, watch some TV, work out with some weights, play some board games, annoy everybody else with all of our chatter. There are more beds down here with an all-in-one. 4 more beds. And then the captain's quarters. With his own window. His desk, his navigation console where he's going to plan out everything in his own private bed. Where he can smooch his love and do all that stuff. Now, at any point in time, of course, if you're building your own version of the ship, you might want to replace a bunch of the all-in-ones or whatever. I was trying to build a ship that I can imagine in my mind would actually be functional. Like you could do all the jobs in here and live here and work here and handle everything in this crazy universe that Bethesda has made. So that is why I built the ship the way that I did. I thought it was a pretty cool design, but I love having this cockpit. I love having these stairs. And this thing is just amazing. But I suppose everybody wants to see me shoot some bad guys with it too, huh? The ship has a really cool profile.
Hey, I picked up something you might be interested in.
Gargantuan engines. She looks great flying.
Pumping retros. Orbit achieved.
Lots of shield. We're going to take some of the power off of there. We're going to take power out of the EMs because I never use them until the moment that I actually want to take a ship and board it. So let's go see if we can find something, shall we?
Yes, we're here.
Here we go. There's an ecliptic. Oh, look at him. Well, that won't take long. You can see how much damage it does.
Enemy's jump drive is offline.
He's destroyed. So there you go, folks. This is it. This badass piece of machinery. This is what I'm calling the Crab. It's an absolutely amazing ship. I'm so happy with it because not only does it look cool, but it's super functional. It's huge. It's up against the build limit. I honestly have no idea how many more pieces you could actually put on it, but I know it's really close. I had to pare it back quite a bit to get it into this shape, but it's awesome. It's a total lot of fun, and it just looks fantastic, which to me is one of the big things about making a ship. It's 2 stories, no ladders, 2 decks. I love it. I hope you appreciate the video. If you dig it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave questions and comments down below. I appreciate you all watching the videos. Shipbuilding in this game is amazing. I will see you all next time, and until then, happy gaming, everyone.